I think we can all agree that coming out, especially as a trans person, is a very scary experience for most people. I officially finished coming out to a majority of the important people in my life on December 28th, 2023, so it has been about a year since I started living completely out and somewhat proud of my identity. And if you've stumbled upon this video, you might be looking to do the same. So let me tell you how I did it, my situation, the aftermath, and everything. But first, I want to introduce myself. Hello, my lovely inkblots. Or hi, if you're new here, my name is Ashe, and I'm a writer and a VTuber among other things, and today I am back with another video where I talk about my experiences as a trans person. And today I'm focusing on talking about coming out because that was a big step for me in my transition, and since I'm a year out since, everyone has basically known, I've gotten to see a lot of the ramifications of it this year. I know that thinking about coming out can be very overwhelming and incredibly scary, especially in cases where you may face a lot of rejection. Trust me, I've faced a lot of that in the past year. And also for most people, you don't just come out once. You kind of have to do it differently with different people, and you end up doing it over and over again. So I have more than one story to share today. So I'm going to be talking about how I came out to different people in my life, and I'm going to try to do this in chronological order so it's a little bit scattered, but I'm going to go over how I came out to my partner, his family, my siblings, my friends, my parents, and online. Hopefully somebody will be able to relate to something that I say or something like that, but if not, hopefully this is just entertaining, I guess. As a little disclaimer, I am an adult, and so I did not have to deal with coming out as a minor or transitioning as a minor or anything like that. So my stories don't really involve anything like that. Anyway, hopefully this won't be too long of a video, but anyway, let's get started. Okay, so the first person that I came out to was my partner, Wynter. So some of you who watch my channel probably remember Wynter. I had him on my channel just a few months ago to do a Q&A thing for our anniversary, and we've been together for 8.5 years now. It was very much a best friends to partners kind of situation, and we started dating when we were both 16, and we were close friends for 2 years before that, and just over time we grew together. I moved in with him and his family as soon as I graduated high school for several reasons, but that could be its own video. But it was really scary for me because I had come out to Wynter I think back in late 2019, early 2020, letting him know that I thought I was non-binary. And at the time, I didn't think I would need to transition or anything. And so I think it was late 2022 when I started to realize that I actually did want to transition and that things were not what I initially thought. I remember we were on our way home from my college one day and we were talking, and I just ended up asking him if he would still be with me if I transitioned. And considering before this point Wynter had thought he was straight and had never really thought all that much about his sexuality or anything, he said he didn't know because that essentially meant that I would transition into a man, and he wasn't sure how he felt about it. So he took his time, he thought about everything, and I think it only took him a few days to realize that his feelings towards me weren't going to change if I transitioned, and that honestly he didn't care. And the more he thought about it, the more he realized that he's actually not straight. So yeah, that worked out. At that point, we had been together for about 6 years. And so it was really terrifying, but it worked out. And even to this day, he is my biggest supporter and is constantly correcting people on my pronouns, which I appreciate because sometimes I am too scared to do it myself. Now, the next group of people that I came out to were Wynter's family members. As I mentioned, when I graduated high school, it was like a couple months after I turned 18, I immediately moved in with them. I came out to all of them at different points and in different ways, so I will just kind of summarize. when I initially thought I was non-binary. I came out to Wynter's mom and she was very, very supportive. And so when I came out to her about, you know, being a trans man, she was also very supportive and also made sure to assure me that if that turned out to not be the case, I was always welcome to tell her, and that, you know, there wouldn't be any ridicule thrown my way for still figuring everything out. She then went ahead and spread that information to her husband and her mom at my request, because I did not know how to tell them or have those conversations with them. So yeah, but that went good. The older of his younger sisters was immediately and totally on board when we told her, but the one I was the most worried about was his little sister. For some context, Wynter and I got together when she was a little over a year old. So the Munchkin, as I call her, had only ever known me as, like, her big sister. I was also worried about it because at one point when she was, I think, 5, she asserted that her older sister's non-binary friend could not change from a girl to a boy, even though they were neither, as far as I'm aware. So I was worried that that sentiment would still be an issue at this point, because I'm pretty sure I came out to the Munchkin when she was 8? 7 or 8? But anyway, she found out because one night we were all talking to Wynter's mom, and Wynter corrected his mom on my pronouns in front of the Munchkin. So she asked why Wynter corrected their mom, and their mom explained, with a little help from me, that I was transitioning and would be going by different pronouns. And to my surprise, she got super excited about having 2 older brothers. To this day, she is one of my strongest supporters, which is really funny to say because she's a kid, but honestly, she is the kindest and the sweetest. She actually has a non-binary classmate who was very excited that she even knew, like, you know, what trans people were and things like that. And she has a big heart and she's incredibly friendly. So the next person that I remember coming out to is my younger sister, who is only about a year younger than me. This was either early in 2023 or maybe late in 2022. I know that she knew I was questioning things when I went and visited her in February of 2023. But what happened is I was on the phone with her and I can't remember what was brought up, but I was telling her about something that would only make sense if I mentioned my gender identity. And I remember saying something along the lines of, I might be your brother, not your sister. And she was surprised, but then as she thought about it, she was like, that makes sense. Even now, she is one of my big supporters. I tell her everything. She's also the sister that I mentioned in another video who gave me a backwards tattoo. So yeah. Also, she watches all of my videos, so hi Jade, love you. And so after I came out to her, I thought that coming out to my parents would probably be the next step, even though I had, like, you know, other people to tell. And at this point, I became very glad that I told my younger sister when I did, because around the time that I came out to her, my dad started posting transphobic stuff on Facebook. I don't use Facebook. I never go on there. There's no point. I only keep it around so that way, you know, family members can reach out to me if they really need to. But I don't check it very often. I don't scroll. I just don't engage with it at all. And so when my younger sister let me know that my dad was posting that sort of stuff, it made me kind of slow down on things when it came to coming out to family. At that point, I decided that I wanted to focus on how I felt about my identity before I subjected myself to their opinions on it, but that didn't stop me from expressing it in other places. So on April 27th of 2023, I finally came out online. And surprisingly, this was the least scary of all the times when I've come out, but as soon as I explain, it will probably make sense. At the time, my main social media platform was Twitter, so I came out on there. And I will put a pic on the screen. I actually went back onto my abandoned Twitter account and scrolled through until I found this post, so that way I could show you guys. but I basically posted a picture of my model at the time in a binder who was holding a trans flag. It's actually the second most liked post on my account, but I got overwhelming support from mutuals and friends on there. And honestly, I kind of expected as much because a majority of them are also queer or have identities that fall under the trans umbrella. So yeah, I was in good company. It was funny because some of them actually pointed out to me that it wasn't a surprise to see me come out because I had been making changes over time that made them suspect, such as changing my model to be more tomboyish. It was, you know, the first time my model had short hair, and also changing my name to a more gender neutral one. I still think it's really funny that they noticed, but a lot of people I know IRL didn't notice, even though I was basically going through the same steps. So almost a year later, in March 2024, the same month that I started taking testosterone, I made a video on my YouTube channel, which got a lot of hate when I posted it, but that video was also the first hint to me that despite all the hate, it might be worth it to make content talking about my transition and my experiences and this sort of stuff, and directly contributed to me making this video now. So coming out online was probably the best experience, but also I'm a very small creator, so yeah. So the next person that I came out to is Red, my younger brother. Some of you might recognize his name. I haven't had him on any videos in the channel, but I have made a model for him in the way distant past. But unfortunately, I forgot that Red was following me on Twitter and had notifications on for my posts. So I ended up bringing it up with him while I was helping him move his stuff. I can't remember if it was into or out of the dorms at his college, and he told me he already knew because he saw the post. Honestly, I felt absolutely horrible, but he assured me that it was fine and that he had talked to some of his trans friends about it. Obviously, he was very supportive and everything, and so it went as well as it could have, with it being spoiled ahead of time, I guess. The next group of people that I came out to were my friends at the time, which was on June 19th of 2023, and the only reason I have the exact date is because I wrote about it in a journal. I have a really hard time keeping up a journaling habit, but whenever something big happens, I do tend to write the things down and date them. Anyway, I was hanging out with them at one of their apartments, and I kind of slipped it into a conversation. All of my, at the time, friends are on the bigger side when it comes to their chests, and so they're actually part of the reason why I brought up in my video on, you know, the difference between tomboys and trans men, that there are some women who don't like their chests and things, and so one of the people that I know who is like that was one of these friends, and she had mentioned getting a breast reduction, and so I had mentioned wanting top surgery and explained why. At first they told me that it didn't change anything, and they were very supportive the next couple of times that I saw them. Pronouns and my name and stuff was kind of difficult, but it was whatever. At least they were like acknowledging my identity. And then within the last year, things have really deteriorated, and I don't want to get into too much detail, but things kind of fell apart after I started taking testosterone. All three of them are religious, and they couldn't handle that I made that decision for myself. And so yeah, I will probably make a different video talking about, you know, what it's like losing friends over stuff like this after I have some more time to process everything that happened, because these were friends that I had for about as long as Wynter and I have been together, some even longer. But initially coming out to them was a good experience. And then I don't think I came out to anyone else until the date that I mentioned earlier in this video, which was December 28th, 2023. About a year ago. And this was the day when I came out to my parents and my older sister and my grandma too. I ended up coming out to my parents and my grandma at the same time because she was staying over at their house, and Wynter and I went over to visit and just hang out. I did have the intent on coming out to them because it I had been struggling with it for the entire year, and I was sure about what was going on with me, and up until this point I had told myself that after I came out to my parents, then I could start the process to get on testosterone, because if I had the nerve to come out to them, then I could handle everything else. And if I was so sure that, you know, anything that they could say wouldn't dissuade me, then there was no reason for me to hold myself back. So we were hanging out with them, and I was just full of anxiety the entire time, and I was trying to keep it under wraps. But eventually got to the point where I asked them if I could tell them something. My mom immediately asked if I was pregnant, to which I said no and explained that I am trans. Needless to say, they did not take it very well. My dad kind of seemed to be in disbelief and didn't really believe me. He just was confused about why being a tomboy, quote unquote, wasn't enough for me. And that was something that he didn't start to understand until we had a conversation several months afterwards. And my mom got upset and didn't take it very well, which I expected because she always pushed for me to be more feminine, even though it didn't work. And started making really charged statements, calling surgery mutilation and HRT drugs, and I couldn't even be surprised since I know that one of her friends is very homophobic and transphobic. And even now, I don't entirely understand where all of this sort of came from, because neither of my parents are religious, like, at all. My dad is actually an atheist to the point where he's kind of an ass about it. And when my younger sister had outed me when we were teenagers for being bi, my dad had literally said, "Who cares?" And, like, nothing changed. And so I was really confused as to why this was so different, especially because my dad had treated me essentially like his son until I was about 14. But after that night, they acted like nothing ever happened whenever they were around me. But I know my mom said some pretty gross things behind my back and made some really horrible judgments about me that were completely unfounded. Things have slowly improved, but I still get misgendered, and it's a really hard subject to bring up with them because it's very uncomfortable. So that is something that I am still navigating. But things have kind of improved. As far as I know, my dad isn't currently aware that I am in the process of medically transitioning, but my mom knows, and she has not tried to stop me. She actually encouraged me to get as much done as I can while I'm still on their insurance. So yeah, I guess that's support in some way. As soon as I got home from my parents' house, I called my older sister to come out to her. My older sister and I aren't super duper close or anything. We talk to each other maybe like a few times a year. It's just, we don't have a lot in common, and there's no problems between us or anything. It's just, I forget to talk to people, and she's super busy. She has 2 kids and a husband and a job. But I wanted to reach out and come out to her because I know when my mom is distressed by something, she tends to talk to other people and just say whatever she feels like, as I mentioned before. So I knew I had to tell my sister before she did. And as it turns out, my sister was incredibly accepting, and the talk about it all went really well. As it turns out, she has a lot of trans and non-binary coworkers, so she was already kind of aware of the topic. We both ended up crying because I told her how coming out to my parents went, and she was very upset that it went the way that it did, but everything was good. And I was really glad to find out that my siblings have my back, and it made dealing with everything with my parents a lot easier. So yeah, they've been a massive help in all of this so far. When it comes to everyone else, I haven't really done much beyond what I've already talked about in this video. I'm openly trans at school, and while that comes with its own challenges, despite the fact that I go to a university in California, I try to stay true to myself and not let what random people say bother me. Obviously, I'm out on all my VTuber accounts and my platforms and everything, but my personal accounts are a little different. I never made a big online post or anything. I just quietly updated my pronouns, name, and profile picture on my personal accounts, and I've left it that way. The people who don't know, I don't interact with much anyway, so it kind of doesn't matter. But the people from that outer circle who actually matter have noticed and are supportive. Anyway, that's how coming out to a lot of the people who are important to me went. Hopefully this video helps somebody else who is hoping to come out or planning on coming out. I know I didn't really give tips on coming out or anything, but you know, obviously I haven't had a 100% acceptance rate, so yeah. But to the trans and non-binary people who might be watching this right now and who have come out to people and things like that, what has it been like for you? Is there anything that I mentioned in this video that resonates with you or kind of relates to an experience that you've had? If so, go ahead and share. Also, as I mentioned before, I started transitioning as an adult because I did not realize that I was trans as a child, and if you would like to know why, feel free to check out my other video where I go over the reasons why I didn't realize that I'm trans until, you know, adulthood. I've been told that it's a pretty good video. It should be on the screen right about now if you would like to click it. But anyway, that's all I've got to share for today. Happy New Year to my lovely inkblots, and I will see you guys again with another video soon. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day, night, whatever the hell it is for you. Bye!